Let's move on now to our final main topic of the day. Ashley, what's our final main topic today?
All right, you guys, last one up is from Cameron Moore. Return of the King clocked in at 200 minutes, while Endgame is 182 minutes. I know there wasn't social media channels to express frustration in no intermission, but were there any complaints in the length of the Lord of the Rings films? I wonder if Lord of the Rings is based on source materials, while Endgame is not, is a reason why. No one knows what is going to happen in the Avengers.
I think one of the questions that have been coming around a lot lately that I've been hearing is, why are people complaining about Endgame runtime, but no one ever complained about Titanic's runtime, and no one complained about the Lord of the Rings runtime? And I think you nailed something right on the head there when you mentioned, okay, there wasn't social media at the time. I mean, that's it right there, because that's where it stops. If you don't think, or if you don't remember that there was a good amount of complaining about the runtime of the Lord of the Rings films when they were first coming out, and some people murmuring stuff like that, then you're rewriting history, because they did. They absolutely did. But there wasn't the social media to get around and talk about all that kind of stuff. Now, somebody recently asked me on one of my open mics, they said, I don't remember people complaining about the runtime of Titanic. And here's why I think this is the big difference. Why I think you're seeing so much discussion going around about the runtime of Endgame, which is like a good full 20 minutes longer than the previous longest MCU movie. I think the reason you're hearing more people talk about this is this one thing. When you went to go see Titanic, you understood, okay, it's a really freaking long movie. Okay, I'll just go to the bathroom when I need to go to the bathroom. You didn't care when you went to go see Titanic, as good of a movie as it is, and it's a real good movie. You didn't care. You just know at some point you got to get up and go to the bathroom. You're just going to get up and go to the bathroom. No big deal. And you'll miss a minute or two of the movie. Not a big deal. The difference here is nobody wants to miss a bloody second of Endgame. Like even in the Lord of the Rings movies, there are people obviously some of the greatest films ever made. But we all just knew when you got to go, you got to go. You got to get up and you got to check something. You want to refill your soda. You got to go to the bathroom. You just went, come back in, no problem. What did I miss? Okay, fine. Good. With Endgame, I'm 100% convinced that the reason more people are not complaining, and by the way, I don't hear a lot of complaints about the runtime of Endgame. I'm just hearing a lot of people being a little bit concerned about how am I going to handle this? Well, it's not that they're complaining about the length of Endgame. They're just a little bit nervous about how do I navigate this runtime as an audience member, right? And I'm 100% convinced is because the reason you're hearing more about that with this movie than others is because, Rob, like you pointed out, this is a culmination of a 22 film. Now, granted, they all haven't been one story. Ant-Man had very little to do with this, all that, but still, it's a 22 film journey we've been on, building over 10 years, and now into one of the most popular, dynamic, electrifying franchises in the movies today. Nobody wants to miss a second. And it doesn't help that Kevin Feige the other day in an interview said, because one of the interviewers asked Kevin Feige the other day, I'm sure you all heard this, he said, roughly what's the best part during this movie to run to the bathroom? And he said, there's no good time to do that. There's no good. That's what Kevin Feige said. Thanks a lot, Kevin. So Kevin just basically let everybody know there is no good time to miss a single second. And that's why. So Rob, I've been pushing back against people saying, why is everybody complaining about the runtime? They're not complaining about the runtime. It's just everybody's a little bit anxious about how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to navigate this? Nobody's saying they should have cut 20 minutes out of this movie. For the most part, everybody's fine with the runtime. It's just about how do we deal with it? And why weren't they as anxious with other films? Because we didn't care as much. People don't want to get up and leave and miss 30 seconds, a minute and 30 seconds of this movie. Nobody wants to do that. And I think the discussion around this whole thing and about should we reintroduce intermissions again. I've been getting more emails from more of our viewers from other countries saying, we do intermissions all the time. It's great, but whatever. Is because we are so enthusiastic about this movie. That's why these discussions are happening, is because we're enthusiastic about this movie, because people are excited about this movie. That's why we're hearing people talk about this. Rob, how do you attribute this? Number one, I mean, do you remember nobody ever complaining about runtimes in movies before? And why do you think this particular 3-hour movie is bringing up more discussion than, say, maybe some others have?
Well, I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact that there's a lot of younger viewers that weren't even moviegoers when Return of the King came out. You know,
That's
you've got a lot of the people that are bitching and moaning and complaining about this stuff. It's like, it's so funny to me that everybody expects things to be the way they want them to be, as opposed to how they really are.
That's what we as people do.
I've always said the world is never going to be the way you want it to be. The world is the way it is, and it's your job to go out into the world and take it on face value. And if you want to make the world and bend it to your will, you can try that and become a captain of industry. But it's like this movie. This movie's 3 hours and 2 minutes. It's not the movie's job to make you feel more comfortable. That's not the way of the world. That's not the way of the universe. The universe is indifferent to your suffering and your ideas and even about you. And all I care about is that this movie exists. I will do whatever I have to do to make myself enjoy it the most. And I'm lucky that the first time I see it is at a press screening where there is no soda available and there will be no popcorn. And my entire energies and focus, I mean, I will drink lots of water beforehand and take a very long trip to the bathroom and empty myself. And so I only go in with my spirit and an empty gullet because I want to drink in every minute of this film. I don't want anyone even in my row to get up. I'll shoot them a sideways glance. Nobody should get up in this movie.
But they will, because people need to. And look, one of the true unfortunate things, again, not a complaint about the runtime, but it is an unfortunate thing. One of the unfortunate things is, like, look, for somebody like me, for example, part of my routine, part of my tradition, part of my movie-going habits is I love getting to the movies. I love getting a big soda. I love getting a popcorn, even though I never eat popcorn. But when I go to the movies, I got to have that big soda. I got to have the popcorn. It's just part of my movie ritual.
I agree.
But now people like us got to make a choice, right? We got to go, hey, one of the things that we really enjoy about going to the movies, we can't do. Or we can do it, and we just got to accept that we're going to have to miss a 2 minute or a minute and 30 seconds of the movie, which really, in a 182-minute movie, missing a minute and a half is not the end of the world. But there are going to be more people than normal in a regular screen. They're going to be getting up and walking in front of us to go to the bathroom. That is just where the reality. And just like people like me have to accept that I may have to make a decision to either miss a minute and a half or give up, part of my routine, which is having my soda, my popcorn, part of my movie ritual. I think other people are just going to have to accept, hey, I'm just going to have to accept that in a movie this long, that there are going to be a little bit more than normal times that people are going to be getting up and walking in front of me to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. It's just going to be a little bit more. And I think that's just a little bit of the trade-off that we're going to have to accept. I think all of us are going to have to accept to some degree when a movie's this long that to get these 3 hours of goodness, there's a little bit of a price tag. Maybe that price tag is you let your bladder burst. Maybe part of that price tag is more people are going to be getting up and down or maybe checking their phones or whatever. Part of that price tag is maybe you take a pass on having some popcorn and soda on this movie. But there is a little bit of a price tag for everybody to pay. The question is it worth it? I think the answer is obviously yes. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. It's just, it's unfortunate that we're going to have to put up with that. But woo, how worth it is it going to be? Less than 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, less than 2 weeks, and we will know the answer.